What is this thing I found in an old dump site on a farmland in Massachusetts? It is cylindrical with threads, kinda like a CO2 canister. About 2.5 inches long, with some weird symbols on the ends. My first thought was an old lipstick tube, or possibly a pill bottle or a needle case. Any ideas? It's an antique Schrader valve cap for early auto tires from circa 1907. Really early, as in clincher rims in the brass era. Technically, it's a cover for the extended stem and a more recognizable small cap. Here's someone installing one on a tube for their Model T. The valve hasn't changed. This is just a cap that's screwed over the whole stem, not like modern caps. What is this small plastic rectangle with little free-moving things inside? I found this next to a house in a newly built community. The orange and yellow things move around inside the tube, and there's a silicone seal preventing the items from falling out. It kinda feels like this was adhered to something, and I don't even know what to search for when looking for this. Does anyone know what this thing actually is? It's called a magic light. It's to check if a microwave is working. You stick it in a microwave, and it'll glow red when the magnetron energizes. I'm an appliance technician, and I use one often. It's good to use a cup of water as well, but these are a fun visual for customers. What is this tool I found in Grandpa's tool shed? I haven't seen one before, and he can't remember what it's for. The length from the handle to the far end post is about 16 inches. Any ideas? It's an antique chamfer knife from circa 1920s. A lot of people call this tool a lot of different things. I have seen this called a Cooper's in-shave, but also I have seen that name on a very differently shaped tool. I have mostly seen them called a Cooper's shave, and sometimes a Cooper's jigger. I have also seen them called a Cooper draw, or Cooper's draw knife. Some even called it a geezer for whatever reason. Whatever you call it, it is a keg chamfering draw knife that a Cooper used. What is this heavy and fairly large sliding device found in an earth science lab? A moving top on 3 moving bearings, and there's a pole in the middle with micro measurements on it. We think it has something to do with making rock-thin sections or possibly polishing. Can anyone give some insight? This is a spherometer, a device used for the precise measurement of the radius of curvature of a curved surface. Originally, these instruments were primarily used by opticians to measure the curvature of the surface of a lens. What is this large vintage Pepsi fishbowl type thing I found at a thrift store in the US? Around 8.5 inches tall, and I can't seem to find anything else like this out there. What was this used for? It's the bowl from a Pepsi-Cola peanut dispenser from the 1970s, missing the wood base. It can also be used as a candy dispenser. A really nice vintage piece. What is this goose ceramic? Hollow inside with a little divot on top, about 2 or so inches deep. It's about 8 inches tall, white and green hand-painted, and very lightweight. I found it at my local Value Village, and had debated about what it was with some friends last night, but we didn't really come to any sort of conclusive answer. We have searched up the name from the label at the bottom, Andrea West for Sigma the Taste Setter, but we just found an Etsy shop with no real answers on what this is. The sticker states that it was handmade in Japan. Whatever it is, I'll treasure it for its silly goosiness. Any help is appreciated. It's a candle holder from circa 1984. I cannot find an exact picture of this version. However, I found a similar one with a different paint. Sigma Taste Setter was an importer and distributor of gifts, based out of New York starting in the 1960s, and one of their line of ceramics was the Andrea West series. There are a ton of different Andrea West ceramics out there of all sorts, plates, holders, dishes, etc. Usually the smaller central hole is for the candle, and the outer rim is for catching the wax as it drips. What is this bike wheel device on the rear of a 1975 Cadillac Eldorado? It was an advertisement in one of an old car magazines. Does anyone know what it is or what it's for? It's called a fifth wheel, not the trailer pulling type, and it was a hyper-accurate measuring device automotive testers used to determine acceleration, braking, and other statistics. I remember reading car magazines, and every test had a picture of a car with that device. What is this item found in an old family home in England? Around the size of a hand, and is rather heavy, so my thought is likely made from brass or a similar material. This item was found a fairly long time ago under the floor of an old home. Thank you so very much in advance for any and all help with this thing. This looks very much like a crest from a Royal Navy ship. A brief Google of HMS Una shows a crest that looks the same as this. I strongly suspect it is a commemorative artifact from HMS Una. The HMS Una was a British U-class submarine of the second group of that class, built at Chatham Dockyard. She was laid down on May 7, 1940, and was commissioned on September 27, 1941. She spent most of her career operating in the Mediterranean from early 1942. From April to August 1943, she was used for anti-submarine training after undergoing a refit in the UK. After the end of the war, she was decommissioned and placed in reserve in November 1945. She was sold to be broken up for scrap on April 11, 1949, and scrapped at Llanelli. What are these small porcelain or ceramic orbs with a cylinder? Each orb is about 1 inch in diameter and is very ornate, and the cylinder is about 3 inches long. The ball on the left broke off from the cylinder, which also has a hole in the bottom. I thought they might be the tops of canes, but they're very small, and would the cylinder be a part of that? Thanks for any ideas. It's a porcelain parasol handle attached to a rattan pole from the 19th century. Parasols appeared in England as a sunshade in the 17th century. They were used by women in the early 18th century for protection from the rain as well. By the Victorian era, parasols were very popular to keep the sun off, as a suntan was not fashionable. They were made from silk and fine cotton with extra trimmings such as fringing, tassels, and lace. It was only the wealthy who used parasols as a day-to-day accoutrement. A poor girl might have a simple parasol for church, or a Sunday afternoon stroll. What is this sliding metal clamp thing I found at my grandma's things after she passed? It's got 2 parallel clamping faces, with a screw on top to tighten it down. The back is flattish, smooth, and well polished. About 5 to 6 inches long, it's all metal construction, and has the name G.O.A. Smith engraved on it. I never heard of him. Any ideas? Please let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.